Hey guys, Jack here. Stick around after today's episode to hear how new clients can save 50% on AgYield's full suite of consulting and technology for 2025. This exclusive offer is available now until April 1st. Don't miss out. Terms and conditions apply. Check out the video description to learn more.
Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday, March 5th, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you got any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area, and we'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here at May corn up 4 3/4 at 456 1/4. May soybeans were up 5 1/4 at 1004 1/4, and May Chicago wheat was up 8 1/2 at 545 1/4. No export sales announcements here this morning. We did have ADP private payrolls were out earlier this morning. Bad report, added 77,000 new workers for the month. That was against last month's 186,000 that was upward revised. And the estimate was looking for 148,000. So stock market broke off of that news. We've since rallied just a touch. We're up 20 here in the Dow. 42,614. Good morning, guys. It's already been a week, a couple days here. Crazy markets. Obviously, State of the Union last night. There was a lot there, depending on how you interpret things. But I guess, through traveling, visiting with growers here the first part of the week, I think there's kind of never seen a more confused group just in terms of what's hitting them, what's going on. And I think a good restart here is we're in the middle of this week with all the tariff talk and things going on. So I guess, Justin, as we sit here this morning, what do we know? And what's your thoughts? And we'll throw around the room.
Well, good news is we're going to have fun. Or we're supposed to have fun. So we know that. I don't know how yet, but it's going to be a good time. I try to look at the positives here. Thank goodness that crop insurance was set before this massive sell-off. So the market did a really good job of rallying. Thank your local hedge fund for getting prices up to these good levels. Obviously it would have been great to have them higher, but I think if you throw the combination of those prices and, these subsidies that we've talked about for a long time and some private products, like there's a lot of stuff to do. We've actually been really busy around these products and making these decisions. And then you had a massive break, right? So you've got this, call it highly subsidized put option that's sitting there at a much higher price, and with a break that's happened while you still have another 10 days to make a decision. So, crop insurance levels are going to be boosted. I think if you're, any savvy producer that, looks at the numbers, you're going to be, ramping up those as high as possible. A lot of these floors, we talked about it yesterday. It's, 447. We're basically right there in corn and beans. And then, then you've got government farm bill stuff on top of that. So as far as a producer, I mean, I'll call it the Band-Aids already. There's not a ton of blood below here for now. I mean, obviously we want to figure out some longer term trade deals and, biofuel policies, and a lot of those uncertainties, I think are kind of driving, flat price down. But positive, like I said, is that we have all these, these different programs. So I think it's best not to panic and just look objectively at the tools that we have and how you're going to play it. I don't think, I think there's still a lot of volatility that's going to be here and a lot of opportunity ahead of us. I think the key here is really not, try not to, screw it up. Try not to overthink it or try not to underthink it or overthink it really. Try not to just sell a bunch because we're going to $3 or, I think you have to really just look at how are these tools going to work? What's my game plan here? If this happens, how am I going to respond? And just because there's too much unknowns here for any of us. This is all new territory. We went through a, Trump presidency before and trade war, but this is totally different in my opinion. Different, I think different objectives, different things that we're doing. And, we didn't say it yesterday in the show, but I, thinking about it, everyone's kind of correlating, like last time we had a trade war, here's what happened. Well, last time we had a trade war, China had a ton of stuff on the books. That's not the case now. That we really have been the, second, third base, second and third supplier of beans for a long time now, due to the huge South American crop. They don't have any corn on the books, really. They don't have much beans on the books right now. So there's not a ton of cancellations that, can happen like they did the first time. So, it could be that we're just looking at a playbook of like what happened last time, which is common, and say last time this happened, we broke to, $9 beans. I don't think we're in the same situation personally. Now we got to get through, Mexico, still has 300 million open bushels of corn sales, but there's not an easy replacement right now, assuming that they do need it. We're still the cheapest corn. We've gotten obviously a lot cheaper on this break. So until the safrinha crop even comes about, it costs them a lot more money to try to replace it, even with tariffs. So, I'm just trying to look at, objectively here. I don't think it's nearly as big of a deal right now as it was then. Now that's assuming that we, don't just go into a massive trade wars with everybody. And, I think we're kind of assuming kind of some of the worst right now.
Yeah. Well, and he's, Brooke Rollins was speaking earlier this week at Commodity Classic. And I think that the overall point has been made that they're going to backstop and feels like support the American grower in some capacity. Now, what that means has yet to be seen, but there is some rhetoric on that front. Justin, I think it was well pointed out yesterday in the show as I was listening, and just seeing it through meetings is really understanding, this PLC ARC decision for corn. You guys touched on it a little bit yesterday, but it just becomes more and more important. And I had a number of those conversations yesterday. You start coupling that with some of these, ECO type products in crop insurance, and growers really, you got to take the deep dive and you got to overlay all of that stuff together, because one is really determinant upon the other, to get yourself in a good backstop. Because it's one thing to say, well, what should my election be? But another than to say, well, then how that's going to correlate to my crop insurance and do that. And once you do it, I mean, you feel a lot better and more peace of mind once you go through that drill.
Yeah. And I think it's important just to add to that point, Dustin, can add on here too, but I like the fact that you have so much optionality. If you look at yes, it's very unfortunate we had this break and all these kind of things, but how can you take advantage of it? And there are really good ways. You can use that crop insurance, leverage it. It's basically making an ARB on the government, subsidized put versus what you can do, in our markets, and then having the extra month this year where you can elect, PLC or ARC county, right? So you have optionality there between now and April 15th to, lack of better terms, kind of trade around your position or change it, right? You can say, okay, in this environment, I'm going to do PLC and this combination of crop insurance and, maybe this kind of marketing strategy with that. If we were to have a sharp rally going into April 15th, I'm going to flip and do this. So that's why you have to really look at the different scenarios, look at these programs and say, if the market does this, I'm going to react this way. And if it does that, I don't think it's as easy as saying this professor came out and said, this is the way to go. Well, that's based on a bunch of assumptions that might not be fitting to you. So that, I don't think just saying what's everyone picking, I don't think is a very smart way to look at it. No. You can always, it's just like crop insurance, right? Like there's people that go out there and just, they analyze the chance of a payout. Well, that's not really insurance. That's just like trying to win a bet. It's really about why are you picking this to fit your overall objectives? Much different than the odds of a payout. You don't buy insurance for odds of a payout.
Well, that's a great point, because the question was posed too. It's like, okay, well, yeah, so I make my crop insurance decisions and I'm thinking about leaning this way on my government payments, but then what? And I think the strong point that you're making, Justin, is that it's road mapping it right now, because in 35 days or so, a majority of folks will be going to the field and they're going to get busy and the market's not going to sleep and we're still going to have headlines every day. And it's giving yourself peace of mind to know that if this happens, this is how I'm going to react and go for it, and put
absolutely. And it's not like, it's not rocket science, right? You just have to sit there and say, it's pretty straightforward how they work, right? It's pretty straightforward how the math works. So you just look at, based on this, I'm going to do this. If it goes here, I'm going to do this. And it's really not as hard as it seems, but you have to put the work in and do it.
Right. Yeah. Well, because it's it's like, what does a 40-cent corn rally mean to you, right? Like you think it feels a little better, but like, what does it really mean? Is there an actionable item? And on the flip side, corn breaks 20 cents. Like, can I keep a clear head and know that all this stuff is doing its job? I mean,
yeah, and usually just like, going over to that point, not to get too philosophical here, but reason we're around, and if you look at all the different years we've been doing this, usually it's just making bad emotional decisions. And it's usually the opposite of what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So, meaning like a lot of times really big breaks where you're actually making more money on the downside with the different tools you've done, people are panicking and selling, which is actually taking out, you're like cutting off your chances for profitability later. So you just have to be, it's just, you just have to know the numbers and just be as hard or impossible as it is, the least emotional you can be, and just be very practical and
have fun.
And have fun, for God's sakes, Jeez.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Ben, what's on your mind this morning? You're muted. I'm sure it was a great thought. Unmute yourself, bud.
You might be talking to somebody else.
Oh, no.
Yep, there.
He was deep.
Contingency planning, right? I think that Justin did a great job of touching on it. Dan did a great job of touching on it, is looking at the uncertainties in the market and wrapping your head around, what am I going to do if corn does X? What am I going to do if corn does Y? What am I going to do if corn does nothing? And those things will keep you from being frozen up. And whenever you're like planning from a military perspective, you expect that plan A is not going to work out the way you think it's going to work out. So you immediately move on to, okay, what are my next checks on my list if this doesn't work out? And I think it's a great comparison to hedging and trading. So, I know that all the guys that advise on here are doing it all the time, but I think it's especially when we have the flexibility of looking back to prices that were 25, 30 cents higher and new crop, and we have the capacity to really kind of trade those today. And then what are the conditions 35, 40 days from now as we go into planning and we have to pick farm bill election? So I think those are really wise words, because today you get a clearer and clearer picture every day you get closer to that. So
Ben, just think about it, right? Like that'd be a great thing to have in, I'll call it any other industry, where man, like we know the right thing to do now is to sell it at 480.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Right. Well, we get to look back now, it's a rare, Dustin talked about this way before crop insurance got set, that there are cases like this. They're not very common. And this might be one of the most extremes we've seen, where you do get that option. It's like when you have seed corn contracts and, you get to sell all the way until 10 o'clock on yesterday's settlement, and you come on your 30 lower, and you get to still lock in the 30 higher price from yesterday. Right. So, I just try to be positive and look at like, that's a huge advantage that a lot of industries don't have. So how are we going to maximize that?
Yeah, you've always said it. I thought it was an interesting thing. You've always said it's kind of like manufacturing. We are in a little bit of a manufacturing type industry. If Apple could hedge the way that they could on an iPhone. Yeah,
if NVIDIA, you could go sell your shares back at 148 from a couple weeks ago, that'd be pretty nice, Yeah. So
that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, they'd be having a blast.
Yeah. One thing too, we'll note, I know we're getting into the wonderful time of talking about spring and weather and all that kind of stuff, but I will say that was a beautiful storm that rolled through the central part of Illinois yesterday. And there was a lot of water for a pretty big span. So I think that was a welcome reprieve for a lot of guys too. We've got, still better part of March into the first part of April, but nice to see a little rejuvenation through there. And I think they're going to supposedly, Iowa, northern parts of Iowa are under blizzard warnings here today, 60 mile an hour winds. And so crazy, this weather stuff that's going on, but at least we'll maybe get some soil moisture back and get them off to a good start, hopefully. All right, guys, we've got Rylan will be back with an update here tomorrow. He had to step away here this morning, so he's going to get me a little update there tomorrow. So we'll talk about livestock and get his thoughts. We are coming into the open here this morning. May corn is up 4 3/4 right now, 4.56 1/2. May soybeans up $0.015, $10.50 is the last, and May Chicago wheat's up 6-7 cents now at 5.44. We will tomorrow morning have weekly export sales. That'll be out at 7:30 Central. We'll talk about that in tomorrow's War Room. Also, Jack will have a little more information in the outro, but we're coming up. Still got some time till April 1st. We got great deals for folks that are coming into AgYield as new clients. So give us a call. I know we've done a lot of discussion on crop insurance and marketing, but guys, this is super important. A lot of really key decisions that need to be made, and we can help you with that. So don't be shy. Give us a call. We'd love to visit with you. And as always, we appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. Throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so, and it'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with AgYield. So again, thanks for supporting the show. We're doing this live every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. Appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show. Hope everybody has a great day, and we look forward to talking to you again tomorrow.
At AgYield, we know that farmers are constantly confronted by new challenges, and 2025 is no exception. Markets are volatile, margins are shrinking, and lender confidence is in free fall. Farmers need industry support now more than ever, which is why we are offering something truly unprecedented. From now until April 1st, new AgYield clients can access our full suite of consulting services and cutting-edge technology at 50% off. This is more than a promotion. It's our way of extending a hand of support to farmers when they need it most. From precision grain marketing to innovative risk management strategies, we're committed to protecting your farm's profitability and building a stronger, more sustainable future. And together, we can weather the storm ahead. Visit us today at agyield.com or call 855-266-6241 to get started. Terms and conditions apply. Check out the video description to learn more.